Why did God make us Edomites?
I hate my life.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
Why did God make us Edomites? God hates us.
The only deliverance the other nations are going to get is deliverance right into slavery. They're going to be our slaves, thus saith the Lord.
Why did God make us Edomites? God hates us. Why? God, why?
Jeremiah 30:16 tells you every last one of the other nations, which are non-Israelites, are going into captivity. They're going into slavery underneath the Israelites when the Israelites go back into rulership. When is the Israelites going to go back into rulership? When the Lord comes. That's what he's coming to do. He's coming to set up the Israelites in rulership, beginning with King David. And when I say rulership, meaning the planet Earth, we're going to be ruling the planet Earth in righteousness. After he puts down the wicked. Who's the wicked? The Edomites, which are in power right now. Who are the Edomites? The so-called white man.
Why did God make us Edomites? God hates us. Why? God, why?
Praise the Lord, for he is greatly to be feared. He removed the wicked and put us righteous in power.
To victory and the dawn of a new era.
And when I say rulership, meaning the planet Earth, we're going to be ruling the planet Earth in righteousness. After he puts down the wicked. Who's the wicked? The Edomites, which are in power right now. Who are the Edomites? The so-called white man.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord Yahweh. Praise ye the Lord.
Beginning with those top banking families, which happen to be so-called white people. We're talking about the Rothschilds, Rockefellers. We're talking about the DuPonts. We're talking about the Gettys, the Oppenheimers, and families like that. Okay, so when Yahushua comes back, he's going to take away their rulership, which they're enjoying right now. That's the long and short of it, of this ministry, man.
Pace, James. I need 200 pounds by sunset.
Yes, sir. I'm on it, Master.
Why did God make us Edomites?
I hate my life.
Why did God make us Edomites?
I hate my life.
Praise the Lord, for he is greatly to be feared. He removed the wicked and put us righteous in power.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today is dealing with the enchantments, behind politics. Okay, we did the morning news and prophecy this morning, and you had this woman, Courtney Turner, speak on, the false left-right paradigm. We're gonna get, a little deeper into it, and also the enchantments, behind, all right, these ideologies. Okay, because what we have to understand, Esau, Edom, okay, he runs the earth through witchcraft. Okay, you see, people, still have this illusion, okay, that these Republicans are, these Christians, God fearing people. Okay, they still have the mindset that, that these governors, all right, have people's best interests in mind. Okay, but what we have to understand, okay, is that Esau, Edom runs the earth off deception. Okay, and we're gonna get into some precepts, and that's why understanding the scriptures puts us in the light to where we see things for what they are. Okay, not partial truth. Okay, not truth, mingled, with lies. No, we see the whole truth. Okay, and we understand this devil, all right, and the origin of his wickedness. Matter of fact, let's deal with that. Okay, so let's get some precepts first, showing you that the earth is ran, all right, by witches and warlocks, man. Okay, and what they presented to the earth, as a form of, democracy. Okay, as a form of a republic. Okay, as a people's government. Okay, is nothing but a major enchantment. Okay, and this is how Esau Edom, he was given the power, all right, to deceive the masses. Okay, that's one of the attributes, okay, of this devil. Okay, it's deception, and it goes back to the garden. All right, so let's get this real quick in Genesis 3:1. Okay, let's go back to the origin and just walk this devil down throughout the scriptures. Now, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord power had made." Okay, and if you read this on the surface level, you'll think it was talking about a snake, you know, and actual, comparing the snake to other animals. No, this is comparing, all right, the spirit, okay, that's in Esau today, which is the spirit of the serpent. The serpent was a man, okay, but he had serpent like quality. He was crafty. Okay, you go into qualities of a serpent. All right, they're crafty. They know how to blend in. Okay, they're patient. Okay, they're strategic. You see, and they have to be because they don't have the attributes of other animals. They can't run fast. Okay, they're not strong, super strong. Okay, they don't have arms, legs. Okay, so they have to be more crafty. Okay, when it comes to how they move. You see, in Esau, Edom, all right, which he lacks attributes as a people, you know, he has those serpents. I mean, yeah, those serpent-like qualities, man. Okay, so when you go into it, it said, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord power had made." And he said unto the woman, "Yeah, have the Most High said, ye shall eat of, all right, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden." All right, so this is when, he begins to plant the seed, okay, of wickedness and evil. All right, and what do you think he was introducing? Okay, to the woman. All right, because you go into this Hebrew word, all right, for serpent. All right, and you go into the root word, which is nakash. All right, nakash in the Hebrew. Okay, and what does it go into? It says to practice divination, to divine, to observe signs. All right, to practice fortune telling. Okay, to take as an omen, to practice divination. Okay, it says to hiss, i.e., whisper a magic spell. Okay, a prognosticate. All right, to prognosticate, to enchant. All right, to use enchantment, to learn by experience. Okay, so this devil, he's experienced when it comes, all right, to what, man? Enchantments and witchcraft. Okay, this devil is heavy into the dark magics, man. Okay, and he knows how to present it as something that's harmless, something that's helpful. Okay, as a way of forwarding, humanity. Okay, as liberty, as equality. Okay, he has all these dressed up titles for it, but it's all witchcraft and enchantments, man, and deception. Okay, and when you go here, right, to the book of First Corinthians, which who was in power, all right, during the time of the New Testament, man, it was Edom, Rome. Okay, and those enchantments, all right, from the garden was alive and well. Okay, now you go to First Corinthians 4:3, and you get this in the NLT. Okay, because the majority of people, all right, of our people, you see, they've been blocked off, from the gospel. Okay, so like in Second Corinthians, and how they've been blocked off from the gospel. Okay, because the Lord utilizes Esau, to blind the mind of the 2/3. Okay, so they're caught up, in these enchantments, these false left right paradigm, and all the other madness of Esau. Okay, why? Because the Lord has set up Esau to blind the minds of those he wants to judge. Okay, of our people, man. So 2 Corinthians 4:3 says the good news we preach is hidden behind a veil. It is hidden only from people who are perishing, man. Okay, which are who? 2/3. Okay, so 2/3, they're going to be caught up in all the enchantments of Esau, Edom. Okay, that's why you got Jake today. All right, nigga go to a NBA young boy concert Saturday. All right, go to church, play the drums on Sunday. Okay, and sell dope on Monday. Okay, Jake is just fully given over to all these enchantments. Okay, and the truth is hidden behind the veil. Okay, because you bring the truth to our people, and this is why you see people like Captain Tazariak trying to, remix the doctrine and make it world friendly, because to our people the truth is foolishness, man, because they've been blinded, okay, by the serpent. You see, they've been blinded by Esau. Okay, now this is First Corinthians 1:18. It said the message of the cross is foolish to those who are headed for destruction. Okay, so when you bring out this word, all right, because our people are so enchanted, you see, it sounds foolish to them. When you bring out the truth sounds foolish to someone that's enchanted. All right, and that the Lord has predestined to be judged, man. Okay, but we who are being saved know it is the very power of the Most High, man. And that's why we should have the ultimate appreciation, for this truth, this word, to be able to understand and digest these things in the spirit, man. Okay, because to the masses of our people, what we're doing is foolish to them. Okay, we're absolutely crazy, all right, to the masses of our people, but it's supposed to be like that. All right, and as we come into the clutch, and things intensify, and the persecution intensifies, and one of the tactics of the devil is going to make it seem as if we believe in something that's absolutely crazy, man. And that's why we got to be anchored down and rooted in Yahweh Shah, in the truth in this time, man. This is what the grace period was for. Okay, so let's go to 2 Corinthians 4:3. It says that the good news we preach is hidden behind a veil, is hidden only from the people who are perishing. All right, Satan, okay, which Esau goes into when you go into Second Thessalonians, the second chapter, it speaks of whom coming, all right, is after the coming of Satan, man. Speaking of Esau, okay, Esau, he's the representative of Satan, the adversary in the earth, man. Okay, it says, who is the God of this world, has blinded the minds of those who don't believe. They are unable to see the glorious light of the good news. Okay, and how are they blinded? Through these enchantments, man. Jake has no clue that they're in the spiritual warfare, and Jake is just getting slaughtered. Okay, and Esau has remote control type authority over Jake, man. Okay, and it says they don't understand this message about the glory of a Mashiach, who is the exact likeness of the Most High. So our people, Yahweh Shai is not revealed to them. The majority of our people, 2/3. Okay, Yahweh Shai is behind the veil, and he's not revealed to 2/3. Okay, they've been intentionally blinded. Okay, because they're reserved for destruction. You see, and this is why the Lord has been separating us, all right, from our people, all right, during this grace period, man. Okay, now let's go here because I want to get this from the chat. Something I looked up earlier. All right, dealing with this divine, all right, mother, all right, and this dark enlightenment, all right, which is parallel, all right, to the liberal and conservative ideologies, okay, of this government. Okay. Now, so I asked it, what is the divine mother? All right, and dark enlightenment, and how do they relate, okay, to the liberal, okay, and conservative ideologies, okay, of America today. Okay. Now it says the divine mother, all right, is an archetype found in many spiritual traditions. She represents nurturing, all right, nurturing, so like your creative and compassionate aspect of the divine. All right. And what do you hear a lot of women, talking about today? I'm in my divine feminine. You see, and our people just repeat things and have no clue. Jake walking around with MAGA hats, have no clue, okay, of the enchantments that they're putting on themselves, man. They say, they just repeat, okay, these mantras from social media and have no clue what they're putting on themselves, man. Okay, it says a compassionate aspect of the divine, the source of life and unconditional love. Okay, now it says in ancient religions, Isis goes back to Egypt, Ishtar, Babylon, Sophia, Gnosticism. Okay, uh, Sikana, which is Judaism, and Judaism has nothing to do, okay, with the Bible. It's just a false, religion. All right, it's a banner that those small hats, you know, uh, as they call themselves converting, okay, to following the law, okay, and it's just a modern, all right, term, okay, put on these imposters, okay, but that has nothing to do with the Bible. They follow the Talmud, okay, which goes back to what? Babylon, okay, and it says in Mary, Christianity, all it says are all manifestations of this archetype. Now, Mary, okay, which was the mother of Yahushua, okay, which when you go into the the Roman Catholic Church, they infused, okay, a lot of paganism into the Bible, going back to the Council of Nicaea with Constantine. Okay, they infused, the Holy Trinity, the Sunday worship. Okay, Easter, which goes back to Ishtar. Okay, all those things was infused in the Bible because you have, the Christians, all right, before Constantine, which they was sincere followers of Yahushua. Okay, but after Constantine, Christianity became, all right, infused with paganism. Okay, Constantine played a major part, all right, in the pagan traditions of Christianity today. Okay, is a wicked Jake, man. You see? So going back into it, all right, because let's go back into it. It says in philosophy and psychology, Carl Jung viewed the great mother as a deep archetype representing care, creation, and destruction. All right. Said the cyclical emotion and intuitive, all right, powers of existence. Okay. And ultimately, this is just the queen of heaven, man. All right. And these different, all right, nations, okay, these different empires just had different names, all right, for the queen of heaven. Okay. Which that's the enchantment behind, all right, the left, the liberals. Okay. It says she often seen as the balancing, all right, force to the divine father, the lawgiver, all right, order maker, okay, and authority principle. All right. So it says the divine mother, compassion, nurture, emotion, creativity, and unity. Okay. And that's where you get the spirit of everybody's equal. Okay. You get the spirit of it says creativity. Okay. When you go into that free spirited mindset, you know, people talking about their spiritual and a society of emotional, okay, of emotions, okay, and that's a heavy spirit in America, that queen of heaven, all right, that divine mother, all right, and through the left, okay, it's a very effeminate, all right, emasculate. You look at the liberals, a bunch of weirdos, bunch of gothic and just all over the place. Okay, love is love, those different sayings. Okay, the alphabet, all those things are linked to the divine mother. Very much the divine mother is the spirit of just letting anything go, just let it be. Okay, and that's a heavy spirit amongst our people, especially amongst the matriarch. Okay, well, our people, all right, they just have these emotions, all right, for the worst people. They have all this love and compassion for the worst of our people, man. Okay, now when you go into the dark enlightenment side, which is the conservative, okay, the dark enlightenment, it says ideological meaning. Okay, the dark enlightenment coined by philosopher Nick, all right, Nick Land around 2012 is a reactionary intellectual movement. It argues that liberal democracy and egalitarianism, okay, have led to social decay. And see, this is what this guy C. Kirk was on the front line of dark enlightenment. Okay, that's why he was going around. And who was he arguing with? Liberals. Okay, so this guy was, financed. Okay, C. Kirk to go around these colleges. All right, which the college campus is a an environment of what? Okay, the divine mother and dark enlightenment. Okay, so he was going around. Okay, debating. Okay, these liberals, and really what there was dark enlightenment. Okay, debating the divine mother. You see, this devil is heavy with these enchantments, man. All right, and if you believe in any portion, okay, of this devil's doctrine or philosophy, man, you're caught up in an enchantment, man. Okay, nothing that this devil puts out is of any type of righteousness, man. Okay, they might have a point, two here, a point or two here or there, especially with the conservatives, which they deal with the patriarch, okay, and the traditional family, which they're just a front, all right, because all these devils, whether Democrat or Republic, are all freaky, man. Okay, are all into the sexual magic. Okay, if you think Donald Trump is just this squeaky clean, all right, traditional family man, okay, you absolutely crazy, man. Okay, him and these other, Republicans, man. All right, but they put this character C. Kirk, and he was on the front line with this dark enlightenment, all right, doctrine. Okay, and he was going around arguing with the divine mother. You see, so going back into it, says it argues that liberal democracy and ego egalitarianism, Salakia, have led to social decay, and that society should return to hierarchy, order, and meritocrat, okay, or even authoritarian rule. Is this not happening now? Okay, this MAGA movement is nothing but a dark enlightenment. Okay, is this not what MAGA is returning to? The strong, alpha Edomite male, okay, with traditional values. Okay, it says critiques, it says the dark enlightenment, all right, key points of dark enlightenment thought critiques democracy as inefficient or decadent. Every chance, Donald Trump get, doesn't he bring up Joe Biden and his lack of, okay, competence? Okay, the Democrats and the lack of their incompetence. Okay, it said praises traditional hierarchies and strong leadership, believes progress and universal equality can destroy cultural stability, often aligns with right wing, all right, libertarism or neo reactionary ideology. Okay, so this is the two enchantments that's behind, all right, these two political parties of the left and the right, the Democrats and Republicans, the liberals, okay, and conservative, okay, the divine mother and the dark enlightenment, okay. And Jake has always had a weakness when it came to the Queen of Heaven, man. You know, our people, that was one of the main deities that plagued us as a people was the Queen of Heaven. All right, and let's get some accounts, and then I got a quick video dealing with the left and the right, the false left and right paradigm. All right, so you go to Judges, All right, 10 and verse 6. Okay. There's no new thing under the sun. It's just repackaged. All right. Judges 10 and 6, it says, again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. They served the image of Baal, which Baal, was the chief male deity, which can be linked to the dark enlightenment. Okay. And Ashtaroth, okay, and the guys of Aram, Sidon, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia, they abandoned the Lord and no longer serve him at all. And this is what our people have done today. Okay, they've abandoned their power. Okay, and 2/3 are going into the worst time ever with no power. Okay, it's gonna be bad. All right. So you go into Ashtaroth. All right, you go into Ashtaroth. All right, so you go here, which in the Hebrew was Ashah Rathar. All right, Ashah Rathar. All right, Ashah Rathar. Okay, and you go into it, the star. All right, which you have what the Freemasons, and then what do you have for the women? The Eastern Star. Okay, all this tied into that, man. Okay, different sororities. All right, that's why you have the women sororities and the men sororities. All that goes back, okay, to the divine mother, okay, and dark enlightenment, man. Okay, so you go into it, says the false goddess, okay, in the Canaanite religion, usually related to fertility cult. Okay, so this is the same thing, all right, being brought back around. Okay, and this is why the Lord is angry at Jake again today. Okay, and this is why one of the main things that we repent from, all right, when we awaken, is from idolatry, man. Okay, that was the main sin, all right, that got us punished. Okay, that would put us in captivity is idolatry, man. Okay, you go here. Let's get this in First Kings, because what was, all right, when you go to the sins of King Solomon, all right, what's mentioned? Okay, and it said this is First Kings, okay, 11 and I started at 4. It says, in Solomon's old age, speaking of his wives, they turned his heart to worship the gods, to worship other gods, instead of being completely faithful to the Lord, his power, as his father David had been. Solomon worshiped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, or Zidon, and Molech, and detestable, all right, the detestable god of the Ammonites. Okay, so this divine mother spirit, has always been a hindrance, okay, amongst Jake, man, especially amongst the Southern Kingdom, okay, and you see, woman worship heavy, okay, amongst all the tribes, because Issachar got the Guadalupe, which they worship, Mother Mary, which that's off, okay, completely off, you see, but Jake, worship their mothers, their auntie, their grandmothers, they women in general, okay. You see, it goes back to the same thing. Now you go here to the book of Jeremiah. Now Jeremiah was sent to Egypt, okay, to warn, all right, Jake, they had fled to Egypt, and Jake went to Egypt and was just wild out, man. Okay, Egypt was always a plague to Jake, man. And that's why in spiritual Egypt, Jake can't shake it, man. Jake lead the truth to go where? Back to Egypt. You see? So let's go here. I'm gonna read into it. This is Jeremiah chapter um I started at 12. It says Jeremiah 44 and 12, it says, I will take this remnant of Judah, those who are determined to come and live in Egypt, and I will consume them, They will fall here in Egypt, killed by war and famine. All will die from the least to the greatest. They will be an object of damnation, horror, cursing, and mockery, man. And this is what the Lord's finna bring back. The Lord's finna bring this back now, man. All right, and boots on the ground. And every day is another day that, hey, because we just one event from chaos, man. You let either, an agent provocateur, all right, disguised as a nigga, or the one of these niggas that Esau, okay, let out of prison early, okay, and go and just you know be reckless and crash out against ICE. Okay, things are gonna go to another level, man. Okay, but why is the Lord so angry at Jake, man? It says, I will punish them in Egypt just as I punished them in Jerusalem by war, famine, and disease. Of their remnant who fled to Egypt, hoping someday to return to Judah, there will be no survivors. Even though they long to return home, only a handful will do so. Okay, which you equate to this time as a remnant that's going to return. Okay, those that have repented and put off the idols, okay, of this world. It said, then all the women present and all the men who knew that their wives had burned incense to idols, a great crowd, okay, of all the Judeans living in northern Egypt and southern Egypt answered Jeremiah. So we got our people had got so off that the women was responding to the prophets, man. Okay, and what's the first thing they said? We will not listen to your message from the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, and that's the same sentiment of Jake today, especially who the nigga woman. You go into the people making responses from IUIC, which they was off, for marching, during the church, the Christian church or whatever in Atlanta, I believe. All right, the main people that was pissed and responding was who? The nigga woman. All right, because the Christian church is heavy under that divine mother spirit, man, the Queen of Heaven spirit in the church, man. Okay, it says we will even going back to the mothers of the church and all that goes back, all right, to Queen of Heaven worship, man. Okay, it said we will do whatever we want. We will burn incense and pour out liquid offerings to the Queen of Heaven, just as much as we like, just as we and our ancestors and our kings and officials have always done in the towns of Judea and in the streets of Jerusalem. For in those days we have had plenty to eat, and we were well off and had no troubles. Okay, so Jake was linking prosperity to the Queen of Heaven. Okay, and the woman was like, "Look, we're gonna do what we want." Isn't that the spirit? Okay, of the woman today, of the tribes, especially the Southern Kingdom, is just do what we want. Okay, and look where they at now. Okay, being laid off. All right, the nigga one being shot up in mass shootings. Okay, the assistance is the vintage is failing. Okay, is that hey, the Lord is gonna confound, all right, the idols, okay, of Babylon, man. Okay, it said, but ever since we quit burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and stopped worshiping her with liquid offerings, we have been in great trouble and have been dying from war and famine. Besides, the women added, do you suppose that we were burning incense and pouring out liquid offers to the Queen of Heaven and making cakes marked with her image without our husbands knowing it and helping us? Of course not. Okay, so Jake had become passive and weak. Okay, and the woman had become proud. Okay, pretty much the head under this Queen of Heaven. Okay, vibration enchantment. Okay, and it's the same thing playing out today, man. And the Lord is finishing the judgment for that, man. Okay, you see, our people have no clue of the enchantments, okay, that they're under, okay, because they were born into it. So this is normal to Jake, okay, but this is heavy enchantments on Jake, man. You see, so I got this quick video, all right, just to go into the point, real quick video. It's gonna expound on it. Uh, trying to see. I guess it won't let me. So I'm gonna play this real quick. I'm trying to go to I'll just play it.
I wanted to draw a picture that describes effectively the false left-right paradigm. The Republican Party props up the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party props up the Republican Party. By itself, a single-party system will fall over. But if you take the two-party systems and you lean them up against each other, this is basically the arch. Their force going together keeps them together and makes it become a very strong, stable platform on which they can build their hierarchical New World Order system. So the current two-party system has been dominated and bought up and controlled by the elite that sits atop it. Now, the elite with a one-party system would not be balanced on top of one party. They would be subject to being toppled. But you put the two parties up against each other, they form a royal arch. And now it's very hard to separate those two because they're leaning up against each other. And so Republicans attack Barack Obama. And then the Democrats attack John McCain. And then the population who's down here is trained to see John McCain as representing them personally, as being their daddy, of where their personal power comes from, of their camp, their brand name, their brand of soda. And so this is a controlled paradigm. And really, it's one unit supporting themselves and containing revolution, so that the people who are down here never learn that there is a world outside of this controlled paradigm. We are locked within the left-right paradigm, and then it becomes this huge pageant, this huge distraction where we analyze every facet of the two political parties, never realizing they themselves are simply a front or puppets for a larger power structure. And then they can limit the scope of differences, which, if you look at it, there's almost no difference between the two, instead of getting the people to look outside the box at the wider world.
And that's the spirit, okay, that Jake is in. Okay, and I'll put this link in there in case a brother wanna.
I wanted to draw a picture that describes.
All right, well, that's the box that they got Jake in, you know, with these enchantments. Okay, to where their reality doesn't go past, okay, Obama, all right, Trump, Kamala, okay, they never go past it. All right, everything that they believe, okay, everything that they lean on is within that, okay, framework of this false left, all right, this false left-right paradigm. Okay, so let's go here, get a few more precepts before we close out. This is you know, just wanted to touch on that point. But you go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, okay. All right, in verse 7 it says, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he, all right, who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." You know, so this devil, you know, was at work back then under the Romans, which was a very anti-Messiah, all right, government. Okay, and now, you know, they've been revived, you know, under the banners of America, NATO, and the EU. Okay, the new Roman Empire revived. Okay, with America being Rome itself, man. Okay, the spirit of the city of Rome is right here in America, man. And then shall that wicked be revealed. Okay, so this devil has been fully revealed, but only to what? The elect. Okay, and there's certain people that have, you know, particular truths here and there, but they don't have it fully. You know, only the elect, all right, are fully awake, all right, from the enchantments, man. It said, "Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth," which is the prophets. Okay, which why this devil, his response is, you know, censorship, you know, digital ID. You know, you're gonna have to identify yourself to get online. Okay, that's all in response to the prophets consuming this devil through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shah, and shall destroy, all right, with the brightness of his coming, which is going to be Yahweh Shah himself. Okay, it says, "Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, man. And all these enchantments. All right, all this, these words that he uses to deceive, liberty, freedom, equality. Okay, those are nothing but lying wonders, man. His technology. Now he has the AI. Okay, people worship, the AI and the convenience. People are running their business. People got AI employees. Okay, he's nothing but science. All right, miracles, pseudo miracles, and lying wonders, man. Okay, it says, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Okay, you see, so this is our people because they're blinded not to receive the love of the truth that they might be saved, because only Israel can be saved. Okay, so what? The gods of this world, all right, Satan, okay, has them enchanted with the power and signs and lying wonders, man. Because he was given the power of deception. All right, it says, and for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Okay, and you got people like so you got women divorcing their husband because the husband is MAGA now, and the woman wanted Kamala, and don't come to Thanksgiving dinner. You voted for Trump, and you know, strong delusion, man. You see, people falling out about an enchantment, an ideology, opposing ideology, man. Okay, said that they all might be damned or punished who believe not the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness, man. Okay, and a nigga would just sit here in America and argue about, all right, Democrat and Republicans forever. Okay, nigga would just sit here, this that generation, all right, that wandered in the wilderness, man. Okay, well, let's go here. Um, let's get this in Corinthians. All right, this First Corinthians 8:5. It says, "For though, all right, there are called gods, all right, whether in heaven or in earth, okay, because this was the time when Jake was into all these different idols, man, okay, but see, we represent the Israelite foreigners in this time because we was all right, Hellenized, okay, through what Westernization, Westernization is just a modern, all right, Hellenization, man. Okay, and we was all into church, which is nothing but a conglomerate of idols, man. Okay, you worship Saturnalia, Nimrod, Ishtar. All that is infused into Christianity, man. Okay, and even if you was 5% of Islam, is all right, false idols and gods, man. It said, for though there be, all right, it said, for though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven, all right, or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one power, the Father of whom are all things, all right, Yahweh he is, and we in him, all right, and one Lord, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, by him whom are all things, and we by him, and this is what we can come back to, all right, as we repented back to the one, true power, all right, which is Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, man, you know. So that was the point, just wanted to get into that, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful Lake Shalom.